Going to do rear shoes, springs, wheel cylinders, and of course the drums. First thing you need to do is get yourself a brake tool. This is an older one, but they're all basically the same. And you want to remove the spring. So this is the outer spring, this is the inner spring. So you want to get this tool in there, and you want to go underneath it like that, and you turn it. And you just flick the stinking spring off there. Just like that. And do the same thing with this one. Okay. Get it in there. Try and do. Okay. Should be better with my other arm. Alright, see how it's doing it? In case you've never done it before. Get it up there. You grabbed hold of the cable. I'll just go like this. Go like that. I was grabbing hold of my little adjuster cable. It was grabbing my adjuster cable, the loop of it. So, and you take them out like this. Nothing's going right. Just pull them out. They look like that. This one's gonna be a little bit different because got the little pivot there for the adjuster cable. Then you want to remove your adjuster cable. What you do is you pick up on the adjuster. Best you can, pull it out and then pick it up. And then there's the spring goes underneath. You can undo that. Or you can release the pressure on it with a screwdriver. Lift this little arm up. And then you can undo the loop. Okay, what I did was I pulled this out a little bit and I lifted it up and I undid the loop off of there. And when I did that, my little pivot fell out. That goes over here. And now, I'll show you that in a second, what it looks like. Okay, it looks like that. And the back of that spring right there goes onto that hook right there. To get this out, you need to pick that up and push it on the other side of the lever. Okay, pick this up and pull it off of that lever, and then you take this lever, lift it up, go all the way up, and then just slide it out that way, because it goes into that thing here. There's a notch on that pin. Push it into that notch, and then you can turn it down. Okay? Then you want to remove this before it falls. Sometimes they rusted on there. Now you need to remove your hold downs. What you do is you get yourself a pair of pliers or a pair of hold downs. Get yourself a pair of pliers. Break it loose first and get the rust off of it. And you want to hold the pin from behind. You want to push it in and then turn it. Push it in and turn it. And when you're turning it, you're lining the little groove up with the pin. And meanwhile, you got to hold that pin so the pin don't turn from behind. So yeah, that's what the pin looks like. And then this is what the hold down looks like. So what you're doing is you're pushing it in and you're turning it. And then you're undoing it from the pin. Because the pin locks onto the other side, right there. Okay? Okay, get the other hold down off. Now what you want to do is grab hold of both shoes and open it up a little bit, because you got your parking brake. It's like an equalizer, pawl. Goes in the middle with a little spring on it, and you want to leave that in there. And you want to pull both sides apart and then squeeze it out of there. What you're basically doing, you're taking this as a whole assembly, and it's being held together with that spring. And then this piece here goes in here like that. It's basically like an equalizer for the parking brake. Okay. And then you got your parking brake lever. It's got a spring in it. Goes to the cable. And this lever goes into this hole right here. Just kind of hooks in there. Okay. And just unhook it, and then you can pull that whole assembly out. And now, this is what we got left here. Now we got the wheel cylinder. So what you need to do is find the flex hose that goes to the rear axle and follows this control arm down. Find the rubber part and pinch it off with a pair of pinchers. And if you use a pair of vice grips, make sure you adjust your vice grips that it closes it just enough to keep to restrict the flow of brake fluid. So the next thing you need to do is go from behind, put some penetrant on here, remove the bleeder cap, little rubber boot, and you need to find the hold downs, the 2 bolts for the hold down for the wheel cylinders, and those are 10mm bolts, one here and one there. And you just loosen them up, and then you come over to the brake line, and so far it's a 3/8 line wrench I'm using on it, and try breaking it loose, but do not turn it, just break it loose, because this line is frozen inside of the fitting. Okay, I broke it loose. Now watch the line when I move my wrench. So my line is rusted inside of my fitting. So if you just keep turning it, you'll twist that line right off. If you're replacing the line, that's fine. Just go ahead and twist it off. But we're not replacing the line, so I broke it loose. So now what you need to do is heat it up with a propane torch, MAP gas. Heat it up, get as high as you can, and then come back over here and see if you'll get it to turn, okay? But I didn't heat this one up yet. I heated the other side up, and then I sprayed it with some penetrant, and we'll see if it helped it any. I don't think so. I have to heat it up again. So don't give up, okay? I'm gonna heat this one again. Okay, I heated them and tried, but they would not come out and end up twisting the line off. So that was done on the other side. On this side, I'm gonna say the same thing. So I'm not gonna waste my time. So if yours are froze, I wouldn't waste your time either, because that's a long fitting, and it goes inside the wheel cylinder too. So so I cut it, I got them out. Now I'll clean this up and put my new one in there, and we'll go from there. All right, you got the wheel cylinders off. What you need to do is now is clean up your backing plates, wire brush them down, and then clean up with some brake clean, brush them down again, and then air blow them with your blowgun, and then you can paint them. Get some paint on there. Now you can't use brake clean anymore because it'll remove the paint. So, but anyway, so you got it painted. Clean up your axles, make sure they're nice and clean. Don't have no rust spots on them. And then next what we'll do is we'll put our wheel cylinders in there. Got the wheel cylinder, remove the bleeder, set the bleeder aside as the bleeder gets in the way. Get your 2 bolts for it, put some anti-seize on them, and then put your wheel cylinder up in there and get your bolts started and snug them up and then tighten them up. Okay, you got your wheel cylinders bolted up on both sides. If you were lucky enough to get the lines out, then go ahead and screw them in, but put some anti-seize on the threads and rub it on the line and try to work it into the fitting, and then tighten them up, okay? If you weren't so lucky, then we're gonna have to repair the line or replace the line. I'm gonna try to sell this guy stainless steel lines because he's been asking about them. So I'm putting this on hold for now. But anyway, so now we're gonna work on this. So now wheel cylinder's on. Now what we need to do is put some brake lube on our flat spots on our backing plates. There's 3 of them. 3 on each side, front and rear. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. These are the flat spots. And we're gonna put together our brakes the way they look right here, except for that. All right. So get your shoes, match them up. This one was going to be driver's side, and this one's the passenger side. So got your shoes, set them up. Make sure you set them up with this tab, little pin sticking up on this one. On this side, this would be for the right. And get your self-adjuster kit, which is a right-hand thread one. Unscrew it, put some ASCs and some brake lube in there on the threads, and then put it on the other end. The stationary end goes on the adjuster side. The threading part goes on the other part, away from the adjuster. Same thing on this one. What you want to do is you want to make them look like this. So you put the adjuster in there, put your shoes like that, get your spring in there, and then open it up. So it looks like that, okay? Then you get your, hold on a second. Okay, now next you need to do is get this spring, and you want to put it in here like that, okay? Push it down there, push it down in there, okay? So it's pointing like that. Take your adjuster lever, put it on there like this. Remember I talked about the slot. Bring it all the way down. And then what you want to do is take this spring and you want to bring it over the lever and lift it up and go over right here. Okay, what you do is you take a little screwdriver and you pry that spring lever over the top of the adjuster arm. Same thing with this one, okay? Now we'll take this whole assembly over to the car and we'll put it on. Remember, this is the right hand thread adjuster, goes on the right side. And when you're putting this up in there, I'm gonna put that hook into that hole right there, that triangle hole. Lift them up and let it sit in there like that. I didn't put it in there yet. I'm gonna put it in there now, okay? You'll have to move the shoes out here a little bit with both hands, and then you give it your backside finger and push it in. And it looks like that, okay? Hooks in there, all right? Okay, so now the next thing you wanna do is put your hold downs in. The pin, spring, and the hold down clip. Push the pin through there so it's sticking out. What you want to do is grab a hold of these with maybe a hold down tool or a pair of pliers and push it in there and hold the shoe and the pin at the same time. It looks like that, okay? And see that one sticking through, and here it is. Get my pliers on it right here, squeeze it and push it in there. If you don't understand the plier technique, it looks like that. Okay, push it in. Okay, and then turn it. Always we try to line up the pin first, and I'll line up my whole slot on my hold down retainer. Line them up, and then I can push them on there. Okay, so I got that done. Okay, you put the brake equalizer in there, and that hole is double the size of that one. And that goes on the parking brake shoe, parking brake lever, and the shoe. Okay? And then you put your spring on there, put the small side in, big side over. What you want to do is you want to stick it inside here, this shoe and the lever for the parking brake. And then open them up a little bit and push this equalizer in there. And then get it centered on there so it goes onto the shoe like that. Okay, once you got this done, next you need to have that little triangle thing go on there, and then your brake adjuster cable. Okay, that's what it looks like with the brake tool. What you're doing is you put the brake tool through the spring and then put the end over here, and then you just pull it over like that, and then that spring slides down the tool and then sits right there. Then you want to flip it on over it like that and give it a little twist and pull your brake tool out of there. Like that. Take this cable and bring it up here. Okay? So basically, you're putting this through the loop of the spring, bringing it over here, and going like that. And you're stretching the spring out, and it slides down your tool and goes over that. Make sure you're holding your shoes in there best you can. Next, you want to take this pivot, stick it on there, make sure it's flat. And then you take this spring and you stick it in there like that. Okay? And then you do the same thing with this spring. Stick your tool in there, and then stick the end of the tool right here and stretch that spring over there. Okay? Okay, see how I got that cable going over it? And so it's out of the way. Okay, this is how the spring looks on my tool. Okay, so all I gotta do is bring the tool to the right, and it stretches the spring, and then the spring slides down. Meanwhile, that cable pivot has to stay flat onto the shoe, back in the metal part of the shoe. So see how it's kind of like off center, the angle part is hitting the spring? Well, you need to push that up, okay? Because it's keeping it from staying flat. Okay, see, this is how it looks, all right? And make sure that star is still flat on there, and there's enough room for your springs to go in there. And make sure you inspect this to make sure it's up against the metal part of the shoe, and it's not. See, remember I was telling you about that was in the way? So now I gotta take this off, and I gotta install it properly so this pivot thing stays in its hole. Okay, this pivot is flat. What I did was I got the spring in there and held it down like that, and then used the tool and sprung it over. So now I can take this cable, stretch it on over there. See how it goes behind there. Okay, so now what you want to do is take that green part of the spring and go underneath that. What you need to do is pick up on that and help guide that in there. Okay, see how that's in there? Now what you can do is help pull this, push this up, pull on the cable, and then stick it behind there on the pivot. Okay, got the cable behind there. Looking good. Got it in there. Got it on there. Sometimes you have to use a little screwdriver to help push that cable behind there. Once you got that accomplished, then you're all set. Okay? And that spring is what goes on to the adjuster lever. Okay. So that's that. Now, you can put your drums on and adjust them up with your adjuster. You know, this is right hand, so unthread it out and keep trying the drum back and forth until you're finally going on with a slight resistance and a slight resistance coming off. Don't go too much, and don't be forcing it on there because you'll have a hard time getting it off. So it should just go on there with light resistance, okay? Okay, this is your adjuster. If you want them, spread them open, you thread them up. You turn the star up, okay? That's just like the adjuster lever, it adjusts it up, okay? And what I did was I moved it 10 times like that, the drum wouldn't go on, so I backed this off, turned the star 5 this way, and it was perfect. The drum slid right on there, and it has a little bit of resistance pulling it back off, but this is the adjuster, and this is the wheel you turn, star wheel, okay? Okay, when you adjust them, what I did was I turned the star wheel 10 times, okay? Turned it up, okay, because that's where the lever goes, okay? I couldn't get it on, so I backed it off 5. You gotta pull the lever out so you can turn the star wheel. Once I did that, it went on, and it went on nicely, okay? So, hold on. I can wiggle it off with both hands, and I can push it on with my hand, and I still can turn it. Okay, so that's perfect. All right, now if you had luck with your brake line, now remove your clamp, let it bleed, gravity bleed in there till you get no more air bubbles coming out of your bleeder. And then what you want to do is close your bleeders, lower it down, pump up your brake pedal a couple times, make sure you got a firm pedal, raise it back up, remove the bleeder, not remove the bleeder, but break the bleeder loose and let it bleed all the air out, or let it bleed all your fluid until it turns a better color, you know, clear instead of yellow. And make sure you always top off your fluid level in your master cylinder, okay? And then once you get satisfied with the color and you're done with no more air, and tighten her up, and you can put your tires back on, double check your parking brake, and the parking brake's up there in the center, right there. Okay, it's got a 1/2 inch and pair of vice grips. And then put your tires on, put your lug nuts on, tighten them to 100 foot-pounds, lower it down to the ground and pump up your brake pedal. Make sure you got a good firm pedal. And then double check your reservoir fluid level. And that's it. That's how you do rear brakes on your Jeep. One thing I had a problem with this one was the adjuster that they gave me was wrong or something. It would not allow me, it was too long. Would not allow me to put that drum on. So I had to use one of my old ones, and I cleaned it up, greased it up, and got it done. So be aware for stuff like that. Okay, if I helped you out with this brake job from the rear of your Jeep, hopefully you can help me out by subscribing. And it's drum brakes. They are a handful. Okay, thank you.